In recent years, a troubling trend has developed. Russian spy ships equipped with cutting-edge surveillance tools have been frequently coming close to U.S. Navy aircraft carriers. These encounters involve gathering intelligence and testing how the U.S. Navy would respond. Each interaction is delicate, with significant effects on national security and international relationships. Just one misstep from either side could lead to serious repercussions for the whole region. What occurs when a Russian spy ship trails a U.S. Navy carrier group? Join us as we uncover the shocking reaction when a Russian spy ship is caught following a U.S. Navy aircraft. A Russian spy ship is getting closer to a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier strike group. The carrier's strong SPS-48 air search radar first detected the ship. An AIS-equipped destroyer confirmed the contact at a distance of over 100 nautical miles, providing the strike group plenty of time to prepare. The ship was identified as an intelligence-gathering vessel, prompting the Combat Information Center, CICC, to swing into action. The officer on the deck was alerted, and the entire strike group raised its alert status. Orders were issued to secure sensitive communications, and non-essential electronic devices were powered down. This procedure, known as emissions control, or EMCON, helps reduce the electronic signature of the ships, making it more difficult for the Russian vessel to intercept any valuable intelligence. Meanwhile, the carrier's air wing was placed on standby, and FA-18 Super Hornets were launched to conduct surveillance flights. They maintained a safe distance from the Russian ship while gathering visual and electronic intelligence. The destroyers and cruisers maneuvered to create a protective barrier around the carrier, complicating the spy ship's efforts to gather information by presenting multiple moving targets. Underwater, the strike group's submarine quietly tracked the Russian vessel using advanced sonar systems, creating a detailed acoustic profile. Simultaneously, the electronic warfare systems on several ships began deploying countermeasures. These measures generated false radar returns and misled communications traffic to confuse the Russian ship's operators. Throughout this tense encounter, the carrier group maintained its operational tempo, with flight operations continuing in modified patterns to keep critical information hidden. The goal was clear: to project calm professionalism while denying the adversary any useful intelligence. To fully grasp the seriousness of these encounters, it's important to understand the capabilities and purposes of Russian spy ships. These vessels are equipped with a range of advanced electronic surveillance systems, including sophisticated radar and sonar arrays, signals intelligence, SIGINT, equipment, and electronic warfare suites. Their presence represents a silent but serious threat to naval operations, emphasizing the ongoing need for vigilance and strategic countermeasures in international waters. The ships can intercept and analyze different types of communications, such as radar signals and radio waves. This skill helps them create a clear understanding of U.S. naval operations, gathering information about everything from the movements of ships to their weapon systems. A prime example of this is the Viktor Leonov, a well-known Russian spy ship often seen by the U.S. Navy. This vessel, classified as a Vishnya-class intelligence ship, weighs about 3,800 tons and has a crew of around 200 people. Despite its relatively small size, the Viktor Leonov is equipped with strong surveillance technology. Its unique globe-shaped radar dome contains sensitive antennas, capable of intercepting communications across a wide range of frequencies. These systems can capture radio signals, radar waves, and even electronic emissions from weapon systems, providing important information on U.S. naval capabilities. Ships like the Viktor Leonov are built for long missions at sea, allowing them to stay on station for months at a time while quietly gathering data on U.S. naval activities. Their efficient diesel-electric engines and smaller size improve their endurance, enabling them to maintain a constant presence in areas of interest. Over time, they can build a complete understanding of U.S. naval operations. Although they don't pose a direct military threat, the information they gather could be very useful in case of a conflict. By studying U.S. naval tactics, communication systems, and electronic signals, Russian military planners can develop better countermeasures and strategies. To understand the importance of a Russian spy ship approaching a U.S. Navy carrier group, we must consider the great strategic value of these floating air bases. A typical carrier strike group is centered around a Nimitz or Ford-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. These large vessels, weighing over 100,000 tons, serve as mobile air bases capable of launching and recovering many fighter jets, helicopters, and support aircraft, projecting American power across the globe. At the center of the carrier's air wing are groups of FA-18 Super Hornet multi-role fighters. These flexible aircraft can carry out a wide range of missions, from air-to-air combat to precise ground strikes. Supporting them are E-2 Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft, which use their powerful radar systems to detect potential threats from a distance and coordinate the air defenses of the strike group. This complex network of capabilities shows the strategic dynamics at play when a spy ship is watching such a strong display of military power. The EA-18G Growler, a special electronic warfare plane, plays an important role in modern naval operations. It is designed to block enemy communications and carry out electronic attacks, providing essential support to the carrier group. Around the aircraft carrier, you'll find several Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers. These strong ships are equipped with a wide range of weapons that can target planes, enemy ships, and ground threats. Together, they form a protective shield around the carrier, using advanced combat systems to spot and track any possible dangers. The destroyers have vertical launch systems, allowing them to fire different types of missiles, including the Standard Missile 3, which is used for defending against ballistic missiles, and Tomahawk cruise missiles, known for their long-range precision strikes. In addition to these destroyers, the Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser often takes on the role of air defense commander within the group. Although these cruisers are older than the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, they carry an even broader range of weapons and sensors, enabling them to coordinate the air defense of the entire strike group. By integrating data from multiple ships and aircraft, they create a complete overview of the battlefield. Adding to this powerful force is at least one Los Angeles or Virginia-class attack submarine. These stealthy submarines operate independently, scouting ahead of the carrier group to identify any possible threats. Their advanced sonar systems can track enemy submarines and surface vessels from great distances, providing crucial early warnings of approaching dangers. This impressive collection of naval power forms one of the most powerful military forces on the planet. Carrier strike groups can project air power over large distances and sustain operations for long periods, making them a cornerstone of U.S. naval strategy and global military presence. Remarkably, a single carrier strike group can deliver more combat power than the entire air force of many countries, turning it into a significant tool of American foreign policy. The presence of a carrier strike group in a region sends a strong diplomatic message and can shape geopolitical events, especially during times of rising tensions in hotspots around the globe. When the United States deploys a carrier group, it demonstrates its determination and support for its allies. This strategy, known as naval diplomacy, can deter potential aggressors and reassure friendly nations. However, these carrier groups are also key targets for intelligence gathering by adversaries like Russia. Understanding the structure, capabilities, and operational patterns of U.S. carrier groups is a top priority for Russian naval intelligence. By closely watching these groups in action, Russian analysts can learn about U.S. naval tactics, communication methods, and how different weapon systems perform. Operational procedures within a carrier strike group are designed to maintain constant awareness of the situation and readiness for any challenge. The Combat Information Center, CIC, aboard the carrier acts as the central command hub, coordinating the movements and actions of all the vessels in the group. This high-tech command post is staffed around the clock by teams of skilled sailors and officers who monitor a variety of sensors and communication systems. Advanced data links enable real-time sharing of radar, sonar, and other sensor information between ships, creating a detailed picture of the environment around them. This integrated network, known as Cooperative Engagement Capability, CEC, allows the strike group to operate as a single, cohesive unit. If one ship detects a threat, another can engage it with its weapons, significantly boosting the group's defensive capabilities. During surveillance operations, standard procedures are firmly established. lookouts and electronic sensors continuously scan for any approaching vessels or aircraft. The carrier's E-2 Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft adds another layer of vigilance, detecting threats from a long distance. These turboprop-driven planes, recognizable by their distinctive rotating radar dome, can remain in the air for hours, extending the carrier group's sensor capabilities far beyond the horizon. When a potential threat, such as a Russian spy ship, is detected, the carrier group remains calm and executes a practiced set of protocols designed to safeguard sensitive information while remaining operationally effective. The first step often involves raising the readiness level of the entire group, activating additional sensors, and preparing defensive systems for possible engagement. The complex interactions between U.S. Navy carrier groups and Russian spy ships occur within the framework of international maritime law and long-standing maritime customs. Understanding these legal guidelines is essential to grasping the delicate nature of these encounters. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, often called the Constitution for the Oceans, provides the main legal structure governing maritime activities. According to UNCLOS, all ships, including those gathering intelligence, have the right of innocent passage through territorial waters. However, this right does not extend to activities that could threaten the peace, good order, or security of the coastal state. Consequently, spy ships may not be deemed innocent, allowing coastal nations to take action to block their passage through territorial waters. In international waters, which begin 12 nautical miles from a country's coastline, ships enjoy even greater freedom of movement. Here, the principle of freedom of the high seas applies, allowing vessels from all nations to engage in a variety of activities, including intelligence gathering. This is why Russian spy ships typically operate in international waters. While their activities can be provocative, they generally fall within legal boundaries under international law. The U.S. Navy faces a tough challenge. It has to protect its national security while also ensuring that all ships, even those from potential enemies, can move freely in international waters. This situation creates a complicated environment where Navy leaders often have to make quick decisions that could affect diplomatic relations. There's a lot of uncertainty in these scenarios, leading to tricky ethical questions that go beyond just whether something is legal. On one hand, some argue that nations keeping an eye on each other can help maintain stability by lowering the chances of misunderstandings. By watching each other's military capabilities and operations, countries can make better-informed decisions and avoid dangerous miscalculations. This idea suggests that some level of intelligence gathering might decrease the risk of conflict. On the flip side, aggressive spying can heighten tensions and increase the likelihood of mistakes. If spy ships get too close to military vessels or sensitive sites, it can be seen as a provocation, which might lead to a dangerous escalation of tensions. There's also a concern that in a crisis, the presence of intelligence-gathering ships could be mistaken for preparations for an attack, sparking an unexpected conflict. U.S. Navy personnel in these situations must navigate a challenging ethical landscape. They have the job of safeguarding national security while also avoiding actions that could escalate tensions or break international rules. This requires them to strike a careful balance between being firm and showing restraint, guided by clear rules of engagement and a deep understanding of the strategic context surrounding intelligence gathering. The outcomes of encounters between U.S. Navy carrier groups and Russian spy ships reach far beyond immediate military concerns. These incidents have significant implications for military strategy and diplomacy, shaping the larger framework of international relations. Each encounter can serve as an important training opportunity for both sides. U.S. Navy personnel improve their skills in detecting, tracking, and responding to threats. They can assess how well their electronic countermeasures and deception tactics work in real-world situations. These lessons help refine future training programs and tactics, ensuring that the Navy is prepared for various challenges. Similarly, Russian crews gain insights into U.S. naval operations, allowing them to enhance their intelligence-gathering techniques. They test their sensors against some of the world's most advanced naval platforms, identifying their strengths and weaknesses. This ongoing cycle of observation and adaptation spurs technological development for both nations as each strives to maintain a competitive edge in naval warfare. On a strategic level, These incidents help inform long-term military planning and development. The U.S. Navy might uncover vulnerabilities in its systems that need to be addressed. The effects of these encounters extend far into the future. For example, data collected by Russian spy ships, even when partly obscured by U.S. countermeasures, adds to a growing understanding of U.S. naval operations. Over time, this information can reveal patterns and weaknesses that could be exploited in a conflict. The intelligence gathered from these encounters can influence strategic decisions at high levels of government, affecting military deployment, arms control negotiations, and the creation of new weapon systems. The insights gained can significantly impact the balance of power among major naval forces. It's important to remember that intelligence gathering is a two-way street. While Russian ships are collecting data on U.S. forces, American sensors are simultaneously gathering important information about Russian capabilities and operations. This mutual surveillance helps maintain a balance of information between the two naval powers, contributing to strategic stability by reducing uncertainties about each other's capabilities and intentions. Looking ahead, naval surveillance is likely to evolve with advancements in technology. Unmanned systems, artificial intelligence, and space-based sensors could revolutionize how intelligence is gathered and countered at sea. Autonomous underwater vehicles might carry out long-term surveillance missions, while advanced AI systems could analyze vast amounts of data to spot patterns and anomalies that human analysts might overlook. Recently, the Pentagon took a bold step by sending 3 Navy destroyers and some maritime patrol aircraft to keep a close watch on a group of Russian ships that had ventured just 30 miles off the coast of Florida for missile exercises. A defense official noted that these ships were closely monitored as they traveled through the Atlantic, though they remained in international waters. Interestingly, Russia wasn't secretive about their activities. Their state-run media openly announced that 4 vessels, including a frigate and a nuclear-powered submarine, would be visiting Havana between June 12th and June 17th. To add to the openness, the Russian Ministry of Defense posted online about the exercises, boasting of their use of precision-guided missile technology and even sharing videos of the ships in action. These exercises weren't just for show. The crews of the frigate and submarine were busy conducting high-precision missile simulations, targeting imaginary naval groups over 600 kilometers away. However, no actual missiles were launched during these drills. Adding a touch of intrigue, the Pentagon kept quiet about the exact U.S. assets deployed in response, leaving civilian analysts to piece together the clues. Using publicly available flight and ship tracking data, these online sleuths quickly identified 3 key U.S. Navy destroyers: USS Truxtun, USS Donald Cook, and USS Delbert D. Black, stealthily entering the scene. But the action wasn't limited to the sea. Above, U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon aircraft soared through the sky, playing a strategic game of surveillance, closely monitoring the Russian ships below. A defense official further hinted at extensive operations involving not just the Navy's 2nd and 4th fleets, but also the U.S. Coast Guard and even Canada's Joint Task Force Atlantic, making this a truly multinational display of naval power. If that wasn't enough, a recent image from the Defense Department captured the USS Truxtun in a coordinated exercise with the Canadian frigate HMCS Ville de Quebec and the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Stone. This impressive collaboration was like a well-choreographed maritime ballet, with each vessel executing its role with precision. Meanwhile, online communities buzzed with theories connecting the maneuvers to the Russian presence, turning the situation into a gripping game of nautical chess. The U.S. Navy destroyers, sleek and powerful, glided through the waters, while above them, the Poseidon aircraft kept a watchful eye on any unexpected moves. On the other side, the Russian ships moved with purpose, their crews focused on the high-tech war games, all adding to the tension of this real-life naval drama. The Pentagon played it cool, trying to downplay the significance of Russia's port visit to Havana, calling it routine. But these were no ordinary ships. Russia had sent some of its most advanced naval assets, like the Admiral Gorshkov frigate, introduced in 2018, and the Kazan submarine, launched in 2021. These vessels were equipped with cutting-edge weapons, including the fearsome hypersonic Zircon anti-ship missile. Experts were quick to point out that the Kazan submarine's stealth and strike capabilities rival, or even surpass, those of Western naval forces. So respected was the Kazan that one U.S. Navy official proudly displayed a model of the submarine outside his office. The growing frequency of Russian naval visits to Cuba, especially during times of heightened tension due to U.S. support for Ukraine, didn't go unnoticed. As one defense official commented, this could be a preview of more confrontational times ahead on the seas. The presence of these advanced Russian ships so close to U.S. shores was a clear warner of the ongoing tensions and the calculated moves being made by both sides. While the Pentagon tried to frame it as business as usual, the capabilities of Admiral Gorshkov and Kazan told a different story, a story of increasing naval power and technological advancements. Both the U.S. and Russia are fully aware of each other's strengths and strategies. This recent naval standoff is just one example of the larger geopolitical chess match that's been playing out for decades, dating back to the Cold War, when the US and Soviet Union were locked in an intense rivalry that lasted until the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991. Today, the stage may be different, but the stakes are just as high. During the Cold War, the world was split into two opposing sides: the capitalist West, led by the United States, and the Communist East, led by the Soviet Union. This intense rivalry shaped not just politics, but military strategies and technological advancements across the globe. Even today, the impact of that era can be seen in global relations, and events like Russian ships near the US coast or docking in Havana remind us of the ongoing influence of those tensions. The Cold War began after World War II, when the US and Soviet Union had different ideas about how the world should be governed. The US wanted democracy and free markets, while the Soviet Union aimed to expand its centralized communist ideology. These clashing visions led to decades of competition and conflict, setting the stage for a world divided into two superpower-led blocs. This competition wasn't just about military might. Both nations worked to spread their ideas through the media, provided economic aid to win allies, formed military partnerships, and engaged in indirect conflicts to gain the upper hand. Controlling the seas was critical in this period because it showed strength and ensured trade routes were secure. The US and Soviet navies frequently maneuvered their warships, submarines, and aircraft carriers to assert dominance. Today, the presence of Russian ships near US waters, such as the Admiral Gorshkov frigate and the Kazan submarine, brings back memories of Cold War tactics. It's a sign of the strategic posturing that characterized that time, where ships from both nations were sent on missions not just to gather information, but to send a clear message to allies and rivals alike. One of the most intense moments of the Cold War was the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. When the US discovered Soviet ballistic missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from its shores, tensions skyrocketed. The US responded with a naval blockade and demanded the missiles be removed, bringing the world to the brink of nuclear disaster. Thankfully, diplomacy and strategic compromises prevented the crisis from escalating into a full-scale war. The recent arrival of Russian ships in Havana echoes the significance of Cuba in US-Russian relations, even though current events may not seem as immediately dangerous. The arms race during the Cold War saw both superpowers heavily investing in advanced military technologies, including nuclear weapons and long-range missiles. Today, we see a continuation of this trend with advanced submarines like the Russian Kazan, which is equipped with hypersonic missiles, a legacy of the nuclear-powered submarines of the Cold War. These submarines were designed to stay submerged for long periods, capable of launching nuclear missiles from beneath the ocean, a key factor in maintaining military advantage. The Cold War wasn't limited to military developments alone. It also played out in space, espionage, and even cyber operations. The space race, for example, saw the Soviet Union launch Sputnik in 1957, followed by the US landing on the Moon in 1969. Espionage was another significant part of this era, with both sides building vast spy networks. Naval operations frequently involved intelligence missions, with submarines and surveillance aircraft playing vital roles in gathering information. Today, when Russian warships are spotted near the US coast, it's likely that intelligence gathering is still part of the strategy. Soviet submarines once roamed near U.S. waters to collect information and test the readiness of American defenses, just as U.S. ships conducted similar reconnaissance near Soviet waters. While the Cold War is over, the tactics used to gather intelligence and show strength remain relevant in today's geopolitical landscape. Military alliances like NATO and the Warsaw Pact played crucial roles during the Cold War, dividing Europe and other regions into two opposing camps. Alongside direct military confrontations, the superpowers often fought proxy wars by supporting opposing sides in conflicts around the world, such as in Korea, Vietnam, and parts of Africa and Latin America. Cuba, under Fidel Castro, became a major Soviet ally in the Western Hemisphere, receiving military and economic aid that solidified its importance in the Cold War chessboard. Today's frequent visits of Russian ships to Cuba show that the island nation remains a strategic ally, much like it was during the Cold War. Modern geopolitical strategies still involve forming and maintaining alliances to counter rival powers, with Russian ships equipped with sophisticated surveillance technologies continuing to approach U.S. fleets to gather information. The U.S. Navy has sophisticated measures to counter such surveillance. When Russian spy ships get too close, American sailors use clever tactics to deactivate electronics and create false signals to confuse their adversaries. These spy ships are designed to gather confidential information rather than engage in combat, using advanced surveillance equipment to monitor naval activities and track the movements of other fleets. Russian spy ships pose a unique challenge because they can intercept communications and radar signals and disrupt enemy electronics. Their role is to gather intelligence discreetly, often lurking near U.S. waters to collect sensitive information. The U.S. Navy, however, is well prepared to handle such threats with advanced technology and highly trained personnel, ensuring that they remain dominant on the high seas. In the event of a potential threat, U.S. aircraft carriers, the largest in the world, switch to high alert. Their combat information centers collect and analyze vast amounts of data from radar, sonar, and intelligence reports to assess the situation and take necessary action. These centers act as the brains of the ship, ensuring every crew member is aware of their role in defending the vessel. Aircraft carriers are equipped with a range of systems to detect and counteract spy ships, including electronic jamming devices that disrupt enemy communications. They also employ decoys to confuse spy ships, making it difficult for them to gather accurate intelligence. Through signal intelligence, the U.S. Navy collects and analyzes enemy transmissions, gaining valuable insights into their operations and intentions. The Cold War's legacy continues to shape modern military strategies. While today's geopolitical landscape may seem different, the echoes of that era remain visible, especially in the ongoing rivalry between the U.S. and Russia. The strategies of espionage, surveillance, and military posturing developed during the Cold War still play a crucial role in ensuring national security and global stability. What do you think about the Russian spy ship that was caught following a U.S. Navy aircraft? Share your opinion with us in the comments section.